Welcome along to Daniel Hussey's Sport, a new YouTube channel covering sport from an Irish perspective. So pretty excited to get this going. Had this idea for a while. Do firstly want to say I've been not gonna lie, a little bit blown away by the support, a bit humbling, a lot of comments, a lot of kind comments. So they're much appreciated. I am conscious that a lot of them are coming in and I hadn't even started yet. So it's good to get this off the ground. It's going to be a bit of a weekend roundup to start with, but more on that in a minute or two. Bit of background. I think most people do know me, or at least have an idea, but like I got into sports journalism quite late. It was COVID that sort of pushed me towards studying sports journalism, set up a sports podcast, Tackling Sport, with my brother, as most of you guys probably know. Really enjoyed that, and it was just a view to try and get into the industry, really. So moved to Pundit Arena, did that full time, really enjoyed that, and where I'm currently working at the moment full time is Matchbook. So really enjoy hosting the Matchbook Football NFL podcast, do a bit of Cheltenham Trail as well, which builds up to the Cheltenham Festival and racing. So enjoy that. But again, a lot of you would probably see I do like the regular sports segment on a Friday at Ireland AM, and have done for the last couple of years. So I do really enjoy doing that. Covers a lot of sport, gives you a little bit of a headline, and I want to really, the idea for this is just bring that to YouTube, if that makes sense. So yeah, like, and just to say, like, I genuinely do love all sports, like I really do. It's certain times a year I'll get into certain sports. Like, for example, I always say the NFL, there's like 6 months where I do try and tune out as best I can, but do get back into it. So yeah, really do. And I just want to make this a one-stop shop, because I do feel there's a lot of people out there that want access to sports content in a little brief overview on a Sunday night, perhaps. Yeah, there's ways we can do and maybe build a bit of a YouTube community. There's obviously a lot of podcasts out there, a lot of very good podcasts out there, and I listen to a lot of them myself, but I do feel specifically YouTube, we can maybe try and create a bit of a YouTube community here. So that's the goal for the channel. Format of the show, I mentioned weekend roundup. That's what this is going to be. Hopefully, maybe if this goes well, perhaps moving into topical episodes, match previews, reactions, interviews, Q&As. But I do want to say, for anyone who's any idea of what they'd like to see over the coming weeks, months, drop in the comments and I will get back to you and see if it's a good idea. Because honestly, it'll be a comment I see and I go, yeah, that's honestly what I should be doing. So appreciate again those comments coming in. And if you can take 2 seconds to hit that like button, subscribe completely for free, share the link to whoever, if anyone you think will be interested in listen to me talk nonsense about sport, by all means. And yeah, if it goes well, maybe first couple of weeks, I am going to try and up the production as best I can here. I just said I put a nice little Aviva Stadium there behind me, so pretty cool view of the sky there. But yeah, going to look to potentially do a few things there. So again, any feedback on ways of doing it, I'm going to start inputting images as we go over coming weeks, so throw them in the comments. Let's get going. Weekend roundup. Quite enough weekend, I would say. Most people would agree. But when I was writing the notes, honestly, there's actually so much. So I don't know how we're going to do this on a weekly basis, at least to start. Portugal versus Ireland. Going to cover first FAI, a little bit on that. League of Ireland, any other football, URC review, small bit of GAA, golf, darts, NFL, and then throw in a bit of swimming at the end. If you're not quite into all those sports, I will be going through them at a pace that you should be able to be engaging. But if not, timestamps are in the description, so well worth just clicking on that. And if you want to pick out your few favorite sports, as you know, some will be here for the football, some will be here for the rugby, good Leinster Munster chat as well. Let's start Portugal versus Ireland. Not gonna lie, very good defensive performance, looked really solid, pride restored in the jersey. It was a pretty cool first half. Wolf tones getting sung at least twice. I heard olays from the crowd, and just like that good old-fashioned Irish away performance against a big side. And yeah, I thought at one stage in the second half we're going to do it. I think the peak of the game, 70th minute, Ogbene got a cross, cleared away. And I was like, I said at the time, I think that's as good as it's going to get. And ultimately, probably that was as good as it could get or got. First half, I did think we were better moving up the pitch and at least trying to create a few chances, where second half, we were sort of penned in. And look, ultimately, that told in the end. Onto the penalty, I'm delighted it didn't affect the results. Thought it was a terrible decision in real time. And even after, you can clearly see it hits his chest. I don't get why he wasn't sent to the referee wasn't sent to the VAR monitor. It's actually disgraceful, to be honest with you. He's seen the arm move towards the ball from Darragh O'Shea, and the fact he's seen that, and then the VAR official's happy that it's nothing to see here. I appreciate there's a clear and obvious threshold. To me, that met that, and it should have been there. So that was a bit frustrating. Don't worry, I tend to not focus on refereeing. I think it's a waste of time. I just thought that decision had to be shouted out. So sorry about that. Keller save, best booted save from a penalty I've ever seen. That's it with you. If you disagree, let me know in the comments. But he was brilliant. I know at the goal he was a tad unlucky, half a second too late. Has to come for that ball, I think. And look, this stuff happens. I think overall, I think we're very happy to have Keller in our team and for the coming years. And there was him and Mizuno a few years ago, but he's just kicked on big time. And I know Brentford, he's had a couple of mistakes, but I think by and large, he's been decent. Formation really suited us, back five. I do think against tougher opposition, we're really well set up. Malumbi back in the midfield, he did okay. I think relative to Irish centre mid standards, he was unbelievable. But I think we need to rein in the praise there. He's really solid. I thought he would put in a good performance off the back of his press conference. But look, we still gave the ball away a bit too much. So Fetzi, Ogbene off Ferguson. I thought those two lads did well at times. But Ferguson probably wasn't a game suited to him. He does lack that experience to win a free like Shane Long used to do. He used to go down way too easy, win us a free, get us up the pitch. We didn't do that enough. And ultimately that cost us in the end. So a bit of frustrating in that regard, but I think Ferguson's more suited to a game at home to Armenia. But I have to give a shout out to Seamus Coleman. Produced an unbelievable defensive performance. Even early on, when he was just keeping the ball, he just looks so calm. He looks like the leader in the group. And I think we have to have him in the squad until we have an alternative, really. I'm not going to lie. Don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but even some of his interviews, he didn't interview on off the ball there. So good. Really go back and watch that. Excellent. I might try to link that in the description too. Look, there's a lot of positives. The stats didn't feel like that. Or I mean, the stats paint a different picture. 30 shots to 2, expected goals. They were through the roof. Didn't feel like that. Felt like we were going to hold on. But I am conscious going into Armenia on Tuesday, that's a different ball game. We have to play a different way back four, be able to have the ball, control the ball, create chances. And for us to do that, he's got to pick a different team. So I think this test is the ultimate acid test for Hamer's reign and whether he stays on as manager. He's got to get that team right on Tuesday. I am going to the game with a few mates, planning to do that socially. So not planning on doing anything after it. Look, if something horrific happens or ideally something unbelievable happens, I might hop on here for a quick 5-10 minute match reaction, but we'll see. Permutations, I think most of you know them by now, but just a quick regard, we can still qualify. I know. 1 point from 3 games and we can still qualify. We are truly blessed. We've got Armenia home, beat them, beat Hungary away, and then it goes down to goal difference. If you get a bonus point at home to Portugal, you actually a point ahead of Hungary. That's if results go that way. Do want to add that everyone's been buzzing for us to get to the playoffs. We won't have one game to get to the World Cup finals. It will be 2 games you have to play. There's 16 teams going to the playoffs. 12 of the second places. I think there's 12 groups. And then the 4 highest ranked Nations League teams for the 4 remaining spots. So effectively win 2 games in March 2026. You're into the World Cup. So there's a long way to go. Do I fancy us to A, get to the playoffs? Probably not. B, do I fancy us to be 2 teams our level or better than us? Probably not. But it'd be great to get there. So just wanted to point that out. Everyone I've said that to has gone, really? I thought it's not like Iran or Estonia back in the day when we only had to beat them over 2 legs. We're going to have to win 2 one-off games. Shout out to the under-21s, drew 2-2 with Slovakia in the Turner's Cross, and they go to Lee Carsey's England on Tuesday. Putting in some decent results. I know like they're playing minnows at times, not Slovakia, but other games like Andorra and Moldova, and they're still at that level, just a wee winning games, producing quite a decent team. And I do love those games being in Turner's Cross. I've gone to a couple in Tala as well, really good atmospheres. And if you haven't, well, we're going to under-21 matches in general. I did have this written out to talk about the FAI, and I think we'll come back to this in a topical episode, but I do want to briefly touch on timeline of where we're at and how hard it is for Hamer, even though if he's done a lot of things wrong tactically, I personally disagree with, or he's sort of been finding his team. But when we parted ways with Stephen Kenny, that was November 2023. I mean, the FAI since then has been an absolute disaster. Jonathan Hill, the CEO, resigned in April 2024. In the meantime, in that period, we took 7 months to find a new manager. I think it's important for people to remember John O'Shea had 4 friendlies to audition for the job. They were wasted friendlies that should have been for Hamer if he was the first choice. I know he was prior commitments, but find someone who was able to tweak the team, because it feels like this World Cup campaign, we're still finding our team. There was an RT documentary on the mistreatment of female players by coaches. That was in July 2024. We obviously had the Colin Healy incident where he was given verbal reassurances he'd be kept on the women's national team coaching staff. He refused a job at Cove Ramblers. and basically was let go in December 2024. April 2025, Mark Cannon resigned. The championship players were given a break in June because they'd be fresh for next year's World Cup. That was the sort of talk. I remember at the time, and now it just looks ridiculous. And the FAI themselves, they haven't got summer soccer over the line. They launched a voluntary redundancy program which will eventually move towards compulsory job losses, and that's all part of restructuring. And Eileen Gleeson's taking legal action against FAI for gender discriminations. And a big thing it's a bit of a mute point, but like, you can only buy tickets in 3-match packages. It's quite frustrating then to see them go on sale. I mean, speaking as a fan here, that's frustrating, and it pisses off people, and people won't come back and buy the 3-match packages, you know. And the FAI is also in 43 million in debt. The good news, Will Clark's academy report, well, this isn't the good news, but revealed glaring issues towards current facilities, but we've managed to get government investment for the first time into academies, and I feel that's such an important first step for the FAI. We are light years behind a lot of our rivals, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. But even comparing, say, the 125 grand you get for winning the league, Shelbourne got a draw there in the Conference League, 0-0 draw, and got 132 grand, which just shows you where we're at in terms of prize money there. But well, we're checking Dan Lambert on Indosport there. He actually spoke very well on daily men redevelopment and plans for Bows there as well. So I do feel we're slowly moving in the right direction. I will cover League of Ireland in just a second, but last thing on international football, we're going to be hosting the Euros in 2028. There is a small chance we won't get there, which isn't ideal. 2 spots for the host, assuming England qualify. That's just basically Wales, Scotland, and us for 2 spots. Problem is they're going very well, those 2 sides, really well. They could even qualify for the World Cup, and you feel that momentum will kick them on to the Euros. So yeah, that's the big challenge. It would be an unmitigated disaster not qualifying for the Euros held in the Aviva Stadium. So we'll see. Positives, League of Ireland, briefly touch on this. Friday night, Rovers missed a chance to win the league. Speaking to a few Rovers fans, frustrated. That was a chance to go out, beat the champions of last year, show you're the best team in Ireland and win it. They will still win the title, but I thought Shelbourne's Joey O'Brien spoke well after. He said they're obviously going to win it, but we didn't want it to happen tonight. And they played like that. I watched the game, Virgin Media 2, which is just such a boost to the league for habits like every Friday night, bar 1 or 2, you're going to have a match on Virgin Media, and it makes such a difference. And I do think that performance will kick on a few teams to show, like, Rovers are so far ahead and have been all year, but I don't feel that gap's as big as people are making out. I do feel Shells can. This was the natural lull because they're in Europe as well from their title winning season. So I think personally they'll be back. I think Pass will have to get their act together under Stephen Kenny. Yeah, I think next year could be a decent title race, but in the meantime, we've got the race for Europe still. Bows, Derry hanging on for 2nd and 3rd place there. And obviously the FAI Cup final, Cork City versus Shamrock Rovers. So that should be quite exciting. And then on to later in the year where we've just got non-stop Thursday night action between Rovers and Shells playing in Europe. 5 more games in the Conference League. Both looking to qualify. I think Rovers will have their eyes set on at least sneaking into a top 8, probably a little bit off that, of course, after losing in Prague, but they did put out a weak team in that game to focus on the FA Cup semi-finals. So expecting stronger teams throughout the year next year, but we'll see. Briefly touched on the women's Premier Division. Athlone confirmed champions. Some running in that club, the women's division. I think they nearly get more fans for the women's games than the men's games. So fantastic. There's definitely a template for a lot of other clubs to follow there as well. And they'll play Bows next Sunday, and that's in Tala, and that's the FAI Women's Cup final, looking to secure the double as well. On to any other football. I just wanted to put this in here. I mean, Sean Dyche has been linked with Nottingham Forest. That headline crossed my desk just after the full-time whistle in Ireland, Portugal. I mean, what is going on there? He's made a right mess of that. And I don't really particularly blame Ange going in there with Nuno's team, but I think Ange shouldn't have tried to bring it from 0 to 100 straight away. He should have at least, similar to maybe Wenger in the 90s, incorporate that back four somehow. Next story, Gerrard's reportedly turned down Rangers. I'm surprised. He won that COVID title. There was definitely unfinished business there. But, I mean, I looked up his salary in Saudi. £15 million a year he was earning there before he left to start this year. I mean, that's crazy money. It's probably hard to go up to Scotland for a fraction of that and try and make a living. So maybe that played a part. Yeah, I saw that again. I saw that the other day and it sort of blew my mind because obviously it was reported at the time, but still. Anyway, just briefly on Bows beat Schalke in a friendly 3-2, but I did see that incident with the Schalke Ultras pushing the photographer, so it wasn't great. And even for friendly, just an insane amount of people to bring over to Dublin. Bit weird if you ask me, but look, it was at least generate a good atmosphere in Dalymount there for sure. But that's most of the football covered. So I wanted to cover URC review and more even looking ahead to what we have coming up next Saturday, which is Leinster versus Munster in Croke Park, round 2. It might not be making headlines yet, the URC, but it's actually offbeat or off Hollywood. It's had a bit of an exciting off Broadway. Sorry, that's the phrase, isn't it? Off Broadway. Had an exciting start to the season, mainly given Leinster started with those 2 defeats in South Africa. It's the first time in 22 years since it was called the Celtic League. The Leinster started with 2 defeats. And it's just making the league a little bit competitive. Even if you look up the table, it's quite exciting. They got back to winning ways. They beat the Sharks 31-5, had a lot of their lines back there, and they will be gunning for Munster in Croke Park. And there's a bit of subplots there, I'll get to in just a second. But I mean, Munster ground out another win. They've grounded out their last 2 wins. They beat Edinburgh by 1 point, 20 points to 19, but did get the 4 tries to make a bonus point. They were missing Craig Casey, but big thing here, Jack Crowley was rested as part of the game time management protocol, and Prendergast didn't play this weekend either. So we are set for a showdown between Sam Prendergast and Jack Crowley in Croke Park. Neither of them were Lions, so both back to pre-season early. I think Jack Crowley in particular looks lean, looks strong as well. And by all accounts, the Indo reported that he's been back early as well from pre-season. So I do feel he's probably gained a march on Sam Prendergast, and there's a big chance that he could be the Ireland number 10 for those November internationals. But obviously Sam will have something to say about that, and Andy Farrell is well documented in well, I guess in some ways preparing Sam for most of the games. I do feel Sam's tackling is an issue. Reminds me a little bit of Trent Alexander-Arnold's defending with Liverpool. I mean, I put him in notes there. I'm not sure if I've heard that comparison or made it myself. I was thinking it last. I hope if someone's made that comparison already, feel free to leave in the comments and I will credit them there. But I did think of it myself that Trent never sorted that defending, and I'd be a bit nervous that Prendergast won't be able to solve that tackling issue, because it is an issue and teams are going to target them. No issue with Jack Crowley's defending. There is something about Sam Prendergast on the ball, the way he kicks the ball. I do feel he's better maybe going forward than Crowley, but I think maybe as an all-rounder, Jack Crowley's probably the player. Personally, I would probably go with him for the November internationals, although I do feel Farrell might do a split of 2 and 2. Crowley was man of the match against Cardiff, drop goal at the end, put them 8 up. They got a late try, Cardiff, so they won the game from that drop goal. It's just set up to be a clash given where we are in the year with November internationals. But yeah, there's an 8-point gap that Munster have in the URC over Leinster, and they'll be trying to keep that. Just on the match itself, they're expecting 40,000. I looked at ticket prices, just too high. I think they might, with the Sam versus Jack thing, get a few late tickets in there, so maybe up to 50, maybe 60, but this should be a sellout, man. It's as big a game outside of European knockout games or maybe late in URC games that we've had for Leinster versus Munster, and I just feel that the subplots there with the Sam versus Jack thing, yeah, it should be sold out. Well, we'll see. But yeah, Munster have done well under new head coach, and yeah, they'll fancy their chances of getting a result there against Leinster. But I would expect obviously Leinster to really be gunning, given they've had tough fixtures to start with. And just on that 2027 World Cup cycle, so we're building towards that November internationals, New Zealand New Zealand in Chicago, and then at home to Japan, Australia, and then South Africa. So 4 really exciting games, not gonna lie. Ireland A are playing a game as well. They'll be playing Spain, so it'll be interesting to get a lot of young players involved there. Didn't want to not mention Connacht's, Stuart Lancaster's there. Very interested how they get on. They've done okay so far this season, although disappointed loss away to Cardiff there 14-8, but great to see the new stadium there. Hopefully they'll have that fully completed come the new year as well. And Ulster were very impressive, beating the Bulls 28-7. They go 2 out of 2. And the last bit of rugby news, I just want to touch on it. There is it's called an OR360 league, trying to be a bit of a breakaway league, bit of a franchise style league. Mike Tyndall's running it. Senior figures believe it's all but dead, just given the union's response to it. But just one to keep an eye on there. They're trying to launch a Grand Prix style with 8 men's teams, 4 women's in October 2026. So they say they've an agreement with 200 men's players, but we'll see. I do think rugby calendar in general needs an injection, but I don't know. I don't think this is it, but we'll see. On to GAA. For those patiently waiting there, it won't be too long for this one, but we've a lot of inter-county retirements. John Small, Stefan Soupy Campbell, Kieran Murtagh, 3 Warriors, and all different reasons. I mean, John Small winning 7 All-Irelands is an absolute joke. 1 All-Star, which I thought was a little bit low when speaking about it there with Martin on Friday. But yeah, fair play, particularly Soupy as well. I think what a player, proper fans player. I think everyone loved Soupy, and that impact he had coming off the bench in those big games for Armagh. He was second to none. As good a super sub as we've had since Kevin McMenamin. There were 13 county finals this weekend. I've just been on the go a bit today. I'm recording this Sunday afternoon, so there's a lot going on there. I'll briefly touch on a couple of headlines. I am going to miss a county final or two, but I overall, I'm a fan of the split season. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, how you think it's working. But the club scene is getting bigger and bigger. More people are getting into it. We've had the Cliffords the last couple of years in Kerry, and I feel more people are recognising names and following the stories of other county championships. Streaming's gone through the roof. Obviously, there's a bit of issues with TG Carr, but hopefully that gets sorted. But the club is getting bigger as a result. That brings its own challenges, of course. But a couple of headlines. 90 years since Dunloy last county title in Antrim. They beat Carrigan, who were going for 4 in a row. So shout out to them. Bray Emmett's lost. Their 6 in a row is over. And the streak is over, that is. And they've lost the Wicklow. Naas beat Maynooth to win the Kildare Hurling Championship. And Summerhill beat Ratho by 3 points in Meath. So plenty going on. And shout out to TG Carr, who continue to do phenomenal stuff there. Hope you're also with me. Let's go to Spanish Open. And this wasn't a sport I was going to cover, but I was sitting down watching Marco Penge play phenomenal golf in the Spanish Open. And it dawned on me that we have a bit of a race to Dubai developing. And should be, even though golf feels like it's in a bit of a lull post-Ryder Cup, we should have a good end to the season. John Rahm playing the Spanish Open reminded me of Rory playing the K Club. And I think golf needs to build whatever calendar comes up to post-live like this. Like, the crowds were unbelievable with John Rahm, and they were unbelievable with Rory. You know, talking to people who were there watching on TV, it was just a brilliant moment. And golf outside the majors needs to get better at getting better fields at these national opens. And yeah, I was sort of viewing this topic when I was thinking about it Friday, Saturday with this John Rahm, but Marco Pence sort of stole the show with a sensational golf Saturday. I didn't really watch much of the golf Sunday, so I just caught up on some articles there and watched the highlights of the playoff. But he had a 4-shot lead, ended up being in the playoff, nearly made a mess of it. Dan Brown was going for it. He was injured with shoulder, neck injury, so wild sort of stuff. But yeah, Marco Penge won the playoff, gets a spot in the Masters, and he's also now second in the race to Dubai, as I said, and he's closed that gap to Rory, who is going to be back in action next week in the DP World India Championship. There's an event in South Korea. He won't be playing, but then he's playing Abu Dhabi, and then DP World Tour Champ, which is November the 13th. And then he's going to Australian Open on the 4th of December. So he's actually doing quite a lot, quite a busy end of schedule. So golf might pick up over the next few weeks. And shout out to Tommy Kibben, who's obviously gone live, but some of his DP World Tour events have been great. He's trying to get into the Masters next year. Currently, he finished 4th in the Spanish Open, so I'll be delighted with that. And just one sad note, Tiger Woods went more back surgery to replace a collapsed disc in his spine. So if you missed that, not ideal. Obviously, the surgery went well, or was deemed a success, but where that leaves Tiger, just in terms of ever playing professional competitive golf again, who knows? But we'll see. Wanted to give the darts a shout out. The problem with a quiet weekend, you end up stumbling upon stuff and you end up wanting to talk about it. So hopefully it won't be, maybe be a bit shorter next week. We'll see. But Luke Littler versus Gurren Price. I didn't watch this quarterfinal live, the World Grand Prix. If you haven't watched it yet, there's a 5-minute highlight package that I will also link in the description. Hopefully I remember. Unbelievable game. Like, the averages were terrible, but it was just terrible darts followed by unbelievable darts. And it's a sensational game. As good a game as you're going to get in the double-in start, I think. And so I purposely, after the Ireland game, sat down and watched Luke Littler absolutely dismantle the Ferret, Johnny Clayton 5-1. He averaged 97 plus. This is a double-in event, which for those that don't know, is basically you just start on a double. So it takes away that 9-darter chances. There's less 9-darter chances. And that's why I used to prefer just the regular format. But I have to say, it was just refreshing watching the double-in format. Maybe there needs to be a little bit more, but we'll see. Luke versus Luke tonight, recording before that. But if you're watching this early, obviously watch it. But in general, we're building up. We've got the Grand Slam of darts in a few weeks and then on to the Worlds. It's dart season. Shout out to Kevin Keogh. I was just asking in general on Irish interest for the Worlds. We've obviously, everyone knows, we've got William O'Connor there. He's there every year. But we got Mickey Mansell qualified and looking potentially to get Keane Barry and Steve Lennon qualified as well. So good, because it's always felt with Irish interest in the darts that we should have more darts players, and it feels we're finally there. So yeah, we'll see. NFL, recording this again before Red Zone, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but it is as open as Super Bowl as I remember, and I think it's going to be quite an exciting NFL season. Exactly what the NFL, it's gone back to its roots, always been built on the draft and getting a competitive league. And it feels with Chiefs domination over the last few years, we haven't quite had that. And we're sort of getting back to it. A couple of young quarterbacks before I get into the Irish aspect of it as well. Jackson Dart for the Giants and Drake May for the Patriots. Just two great quarterbacks, I think. Reminds me of other great quarterbacks already. I won't mention the names. Any NFL fans know them. I don't want to big up these lads too much, but there are, as the usual, injuries across the league. As someone playing fantasy there, I've just missed my deadline for checking those injuries, which isn't ideal. But anyway, I wanted to bring it to the Irish aspect. So before the couple of Irish players, just to mention that Croke Park game was really good, really fun, great atmosphere in Dublin before and after the game itself, so good. I have to say, the breaks, you would worry about the breaks when you're watching on TV that in a stadium you'd be bored, but the music they played, I'm not going to lie, they smashed it out of the park. It was a really fun event. No trouble at the game. It was just a great atmosphere, great occasion. And hopefully we get it every year because I just think it's big. It's as big as an event is going to be hosted in Dublin. I think ultimately, I know there's a lot going on with the event and the NFL at the moment and America at the moment. But I do think overall it's a great thing for Ireland. So I think it's well worth keeping there. And then the Steelers fans, there was like 30,000 Pittsburgh people there. It was sensational. Dan Whelan doing his stuff, Green Bay punter, but shout out to Derry's Jude McAdamy. He's basically taken over place kicking duties, and I did watch that game, TNF Giants beating the Eagles, which is a sensational result, and he kicked 4 of his 5 kicks over. So hopefully he can hang on to that spot. Obviously, you should be kicking all your extra point kicks over, but it's good stuff. Swimming wasn't on my list to get in, but I just kept seeing loads of swimming stories, and I feel you might not get an opportunity for the Olympics to start, or the nationals, or Europeans, or worlds. People tune out of swimming outside the Olympic cycle, and I do, with this channel, want to try and bring that back. And Mona McSherry broke her own national record. Ellen Walsh broke her own national record. Both those women competed at the Olympics. Household names, definitely Mona McSherry after her Olympic medal. But we have those names now. Let's try and keep an eye on their careers as best we can. So shout out to both of them. And shout out to Shane Ryan as well. He was the first Irishman ever to swim at 3 Olympic Games. He born in the USA, grew up there, and then came to Ireland, wanted to represent Ireland. And I was going to list out his Irish records, and he's got a lot of Irish records. So just to say that. So shout out to those 3 individuals. And I think in general, this channel with these sort of roundups is going to try and cover those niche sports with a little mention, because I think we just tune out of this stuff, and to have it in sort of like a show like this, you can just touch on. Yeah, let me know if you want more of that. Let me know if I've missed anything. But that's done. Weekend roundup. Felt like I've talked for an hour there, and it wasn't quite that long, but it was longer than expected. So let me know. Firstly, feedback for the show. A weekend roundup like this, do you want it more shorter? Like, I appreciate Portugal Ireland was a lot, and I think in general it will be a tad shorter every weekend. But let me know if this sort of, you like this, you want it longer, you want it shorter. Do you like the solo aspect to it? Do you want guests on it? Do you want a little bit of both? As I said, with solo shows, I appreciate it gets tired looking at the same person the whole time. I will try and incorporate images during the broadcast, maybe even some clips as well. So finding my feet a little bit production wise, but just wanted to get this one off the ground, because you know yourself, you never do it. So before I go, again, I don't want to repeat the whole intro, but I do want to say I really appreciate the support. I appreciate anyone who's still watching now. That means a lot. But I was a little bit, as I said at the start, blown away a little bit. I think that a lot of people are just general nice people, and I do want to create a bit of community on YouTube from Irish sports, and I feel specifically Irish sport on YouTube covering all sports, there might be a little bit of a niche there. And if we can build a bit of community, let's cover it as best we can. I mentioned it. I hope I don't have to jump on here Wednesday morning before work, get up extra early to cover a disaster, a game at home to Armenia, or maybe a really good game. We'll see. But other than that, I will try and, for the first 3 weeks, including this one, do a weekend roundup, see how we're getting on, and kind of go from there. But other than that, enjoy the week. Hopefully chat to you on Sunday, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we're going to win it against Armenia. Give ourselves a bit of World Cup hopes till November. Chat soon.